Welcome to the Tri-City Herald Editorial Board with Trinity Orosco. She's running for Franklin County District Court Judge, and her opponent declined our invitation today, so we'll just be talking with Trinity. So Trinity, I'll let you start with your 2-minute opening, and then we'll go from there. Oh, I should introduce everybody. I knew I'd forget a step. I'm Cecilia Rexis. I'm the Tri-City Herald editorial writer. We have Jack Briggs. He is a retired publisher for the Herald. We have Ken Robertson. He is the retired executive editor for the Herald. Lori Williams is our executive editor. She's working. And we've got Mike Paoli. He's our community rep. And then Cameron Probert is a reporter. He's off camera and he's muted, and he will have no say in our discussion afterwards, but he's here just to observe. So, okay. All right. Okay, great. So, Trinity, whenever you're ready, I'll just start the timer. So,
okay. Well, thank you
Great.
for inviting me here today to introduce myself and discuss my campaign. I have lived in the area for most of my life, and with my husband, we are raising our 3 children. One is currently attending Eastern Washington University, and by God's grace, we'll be graduating in April and we'll return home. It's been a long path. We have 2 other children at Liberty Christian, and I've worked as an attorney here for the last 13 years. I've been an attorney for 13 years, and also has worked as a paralegal and legal intern for 7 years prior to that. During the 13 years, I've worked as a public defender for the entirety of my practice. I have practiced in both Superior and District Court, but I do prefer District Court. I feel that you can get the most inspiring stories and it's most rewarding in helping others. And that's really my goal here, is to help others. I am dedicated to public service, as I said, and that's why I'm looking at running for District Court Judge. I think that can continue my service to our community. And ultimately, my goal is to implement therapeutic courts in Franklin County District Court, which is not something we currently have. And I think that it is going to help solve some of the mental health crisis and substance abuse crisis issues that we're dealing with right now. I do have bipartisan support. I have retired and active Superior and District Court judges, law enforcement, first responders, unions, educators, and also fellow attorneys. I also did win the bar poll, and I was the overall choice at 63%. These people are all supporting me because they believe in me and my mission, and they know that I'm willing to work hard to implement these courts, and I will do a good job. And I welcome any of your questions.
perfect. Thank you. So, Trinity, what kind of leap is it to go from an attorney to a judge, do you think? Does that seem daunting to you? I'm just curious what's going on in your mind thinking about that switch.
Honestly, I don't feel really concerned about the switch, mainly because I'm in court 3-4 days a week right now. So I'm always there. I'm always observing. I see issues that most people don't see if they're not a public defender, mainly just because they're not able to observe those. So I think it's going to probably be a challenge, but it's not going to be something that's too hard to overcome. I really think that the experience and the hours that I've had in court are really going to play into my success on the bench.
Are there any questions from the board? Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Tiffany, how would you go about establishing therapeutic courts during a typical term?
So I've actually already been working on it. What I started with was just forums, basic forums, to find out different agencies that are on board and who we can use for resources, and making those connections with mental health and substance abuse professionals. I also spoke with elected officials and other individuals who have some say in both counties to try to get some information on what exactly we need. And I was really lucky that Benton County was willing to essentially hand over their binder of information so that they kind of had a step-by-step progress on how to get things started. They also provided me information regarding some grants available. And there is actually a grant that will be coming up at the beginning of the year that will provide up to $2 million in foundational expenses, and they also provide free training for anybody in the program. So they'll take the program team and they will either walk you through a therapeutic court system in a different area, or they'll allow you to appear via Zoom or WebEx, and they'll answer your questions. So I think with the funding available, and if we get that grant going, it should be within a year that we would be able to have the foundational expenses. And then really at this point, it's going to be finding people who are going to be a good fit for the team. We are struggling with finding people in general. I know to work right now, we have a lot of need for substance abuse and mental health professionals. And I think that we're going to have to find some people who are willing to come in and work with the community that we're working with. But overall, I think it'll probably be something we can achieve within a year.
Great. And thank you, Trinity. Please excuse me. I think I heard a different name come out of my apologies. A follow-up question then. Since you have this vision, how do you distinguish your campaign from that of your opponents, or how do you distinguish yourself and your vision from your opponent?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with experience. As I said, 13 years in court, 3+ days a week, has given me an interesting point of view on what we need, and I can really see the needs of the community. And I have good working relationships with the prosecutors and other defense attorneys and law enforcement. So I think bringing that in and knowing that we can all figure out a way to work together to find the solution is really where my benefits lie here in electing me. Is really, I'm going to bring in something that we haven't seen in a while. Judge Roach is amazing, and he's done a fantastic job. And I want to continue that legacy, but also to kind of one-up it, so to speak, and get some new courts in there and start solving these problems. I can't speak for my opponent or his goals on what he plans to do when elected. I don't know, and I haven't heard, to be honest. But I know so far I'm the only one that spoke about getting these new courts together and kind of bridging the gap that we have right now.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question to back up Mike's? Have you been involved in the plan to build a recovery center in Kennewick? And does that conflict with your proposal at all?
So I was hoping to be involved, but I don't think that my position would allow for that. I have spoken with a number of the people on the board, and more specifically, I've spoken with Sheriff Raymond a lot about that. He's very passionate about creating this recovery center. And I recently attended a meeting yesterday, just kind of hearing what progress they're making. And I don't think it's going to have any sort of conflict with what we're doing, because the real goal is to provide assistance and services to those who need it. And a lot of people don't instantly enter into the criminal justice system. They need help, but there's not any criminal charges they're looking at. So what we'll do is we'll step in when there's a criminal charge and then they meet the program requirements, and we'll assist them in that way. And when they don't have any criminal charges pending, the Recovery Center can help provide them the assistance they need. So I really think we'll work hand in hand, not in opposition to each other.
Just to clarify, so Superior Court has those therapeutic courts, but not District Court in either county?
So Superior has drug court, and
Right.
then Benton County District Court has Veterans Court and Mental Health Court. And then they are creating a new recovery court, which is like a misdemeanor drug court. But currently Franklin County does not have those programs.
Okay. So it would be in Franklin County that you would be launching your vision. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds like a lot of programs without an umbrella, without a central drive.
Well, and I think it's really going to be, in my vision anyway, one large program that's working together. So the Recovery Center will be able to pick up people, and they'll be able to take in people who need to either detox or receive mental health services, and they'll provide them the services they need. But when they can't, or when that person is facing a criminal charge, then the courts step in and they provide those services. But they will work hand in hand with the recovery center. It won't be two separate programs. It'll be something that'll work together.
Reading through your political material and reading the Herald's letter to the editor from Judge Roach the other day, I'm not surprised. I'm staggered at the positive number of endorsements you have, including one which surprised me because you've been able to do what almost no one else can. You got 3 county commissioners to agree on one thing, your endorsement. But that left, but there were 34% of the people looking at the negative things, but 34% of your fellow attorneys did not endorse you. What was, as you talked to them, what was their concerns about your candidacy?
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, we don't know who voted in support of or against. So from what I've heard, probably not the most appropriate forum to discuss why one person was voted over another. But really, I think it comes down to what they're looking for in a judge. Do they want somebody to come in and maintain the status quo, or do they want somebody to come in and kind of shake things up a bit? And I have a tendency to shake things up, and some people may not be interested in that.
So shaking things up, is it just this idea you have for the therapeutic court, or do you have some other ideas? I mean, why do you have that reputation, I guess?
Well, I think it's more about, I'm more of an extrovert. So I have a lot of energy and I want to get a lot of things done. And I have that higher standards for others as well. So I want people to also put forth the effort. Therapeutic courts, yes. In addition, I would like to provide access to justice for others by WebEx or Zoom. I know they're doing that in Benton County now, and we're not offering that. We do allow people to appear via telephone if they're unable to attend, but I think it would be good to allow individuals who don't work in the area or have other obligations to appear in court via an alternative means. We obviously need to keep the system moving. We don't want to grind things to a halt, but we also want to give people the opportunity to maintain their employment or care for their children, or simply be out of town because they don't live in the area and still attend to those obligations.
And would that include the public being able to watch?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I know Benton County has that as well.
I was going to ask you, oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Were you following up on that?
No,
Oh, I was
go
just
ahead.
going to ask about the caseloads right now, because I know a lot of things got delayed because of the pandemic. What's the situation in district court as far as the caseloads? And I mean, I know that the public defense attorney contracts have been really hitting the caps in superior court. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Right. So the pandemic did increase our caseloads, but I think we've kind of waded through that, and we're back to a good place where dockets aren't going for, an entire afternoon, and we're able to get things resolved pretty quickly right now. The caseloads are going to increase considerably with the Blake decision and having these new charges filed in district court. We're going to see the majority of those charges. So we're definitely going to need a new public defender, and we're going to have to make some concessions for that. I see our dockets getting longer if we don't have a solution in place once these charges start coming through. Public defense, it's been a challenge. A lot of jurisdictions all over the state are looking for attorneys, and it's not a very lucrative profession, and not a lot of people want to serve as a public defender. It's been historically known as a position that you take when you're fresh out of law school and you need to get some on-the-job training quick. And most of those people excel and want to leave to make more money or to find a different area of the law. Sometimes criminal law is just difficult for some to handle, And so they leave. And now we're stuck with trying to pick up the pieces and find some experienced attorneys who are willing to come in and do the work at a lower wage, but more job satisfaction, I would think.
So why have you stayed so long, Trinity? You said 13 years as public
Right.
defender, so that is a long time. So what's kept you there?
I love being able to help people who don't have the ability to help themselves. I had my grandparents, or my grandfather was taken advantage of when he was young, and he didn't read or write, and he only spoke Spanish for a while. So he was injured, and in that injury, he had whom he believed was somebody on his side, and he ultimately signed away his rights in that accident because they told him to sign and he trusted them. And so for me, it's important to be somebody that people are going to trust and to know that I can help. And there is a lot of job satisfaction with knowing that people do appreciate the work that you're doing for them, and that I tend to go above and beyond a little bit more than I think a public defender is required to. But I also have a lot of positive feedback from my clients because they do know that I'm there to help them and provide them maybe the access to resources or to give them some additional information that maybe they wouldn't have had otherwise. So it really comes down to job satisfaction and knowing that I can help others.
So Trinity, why are you giving up that rubber on the road, hands-on help for the community for the job where you're going to be sitting behind the bench as a judge?
Well, because I think it also has a lot of job satisfaction, and the fact that in district court, you're not bound to sentencing guidelines or specific rules on how to punish somebody. You have a little bit more leniency on how to get people in the right direction. So when you see kids come in, and I say kids loosely, an 18-year-old who made a mistake, and you want to help encourage them to do better, prevent them from continuing in a life of crime, so to speak, you have the ability to encourage that. And with also these court programs, knowing that the mental health and substance abuse issue is only getting worse, I feel like I can make a difference and I can really support the community. And I feel like I will receive a lot of job satisfaction from that.
So you mentioned the Blake decision. What is your opinion of that? Are you concerned about it? Did you think it was necessary? Where do you land?
Well, I struggle to, this is kind of a question I could get in the weeds on. There's only so much information I can provide because it's nonpartisan, but I understand where they were coming from. I think it's unfortunate that we're in a situation now where there's so many substance abuse issues and we're not solving the problems, and I don't necessarily think that helps solve any problems. I think the ultimate goal of having diversion and having the opportunity to go through these diversion programs is going to be helpful later on, but right now, I don't think we've really reached that point. So I don't know how many people I don't really feel like many in district court anyway have been charged with a crime. So I'm hopeful that means that people are taking advantage of the diversion, but I don't know because I don't have access to those or that information.
This is easy with one person. We're used to going back and forth. There's banter.
Yeah.
So what's your next step up, Trinity?
As far as
in your occupation, what's your next step?
I think this is my step. I don't have any desire to move up to Superior Court. There's too much stress in Superior Court. There's a lot of cases that I wouldn't want to hear. I've made the decision not to go to Superior Court a number of times, and I've been asked to a number of times because there are some cases that I don't think that I could adequately represent somebody on and still maintain my sanity. So district court is definitely a place where I want to stay, and I'll retire from district court.
So what sort of cases are going to drive you insane?
Well, district court, hopefully none. But in Superior, those are, I think, any cases that you may see and kind of get a stomach ache, I feel the same way.
A lot of them.
Yes.
There's the I'm trying to remember what the role is on district court as far as is there one of the judges who is more of the administrative judge who oversees the staff, or is there an administrator for the district court staff? I'm forgetting how that is over
So
there.
in Franklin County, we only have one district court judge.
Okay.
So we have an administrator, and she oversees the clerk's office, and then the judge also works, with the clerk's office to set schedules and, do those kind of administrative tasks.
But aren't you the judge? Isn't the judge the administrator or the leader, the top person in that
Well, you
department?
have an administrator, you have a clerk who handles, but yes, you have the authority. There's, I believe, if I heard correctly, there are 3 people who are not under the union who could be terminated. But in this position, in that clerk's office, they're amazing. They all work well together. Everybody knows their job. There's not any, I haven't witnessed any negativity. Everybody is a pretty cohesive group, and it doesn't make sense to me to impact that group.
Right, but you would be the boss of that.
Right.
Of that department. And the reason I'm asking that is just because we've been asking the Franklin County candidates about the issues with a toxic work environment, hostile work environment that have been brought up by 2 former HR directors in Franklin County. And so I don't know if you have you experienced that? Are you concerned about that if you're going to be overseeing a staff there in the courthouse?
Well, I feel like that situation we were pretty insulated from it. I didn't hear anything about what was going on other than them leaving and letters and so forth. But I was unaware that was happening, just because in our area where we are off kind of onto the side, and nobody really thinks about us unless they really have to. And it didn't seem like there was any sort of negative impact there.
Okay.
I can't speak to those individuals who left. I don't know what happened. But in our area, I think that we're doing well.
As far as you're a contractor at this point, but you would become an employee and you'd be over employees. That's why I was asking.
Right. And I'm a contractor. I'm there a lot though. So even when you're in a situation where you're maybe not necessarily an employee, people tend to hear what's going on, and I hadn't heard any sort of negativity related to that. I wasn't out asking about it, but I didn't know that there was really that many problems.
Do you have office administration experience within your law practice, overseeing budgets or staff?
Well, and I've maintained my office, for the last 13 years. I did work for Judge Catherine before he was a judge, and we worked together for a while, and he kind of gave me the ropes and told me what I needed to do. And then I went out on my own, and I've been handling that ever since. So I do maintain my budget and scheduling contracts and, insurance issues. And I handle all of those matters and make sure the administrative tasks get resolved. Not on the scale of a district court, but yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mhm. Is there a case that stands out in your mind at all, Trinity? One that either haunts you or you're very proud of, or I don't know, you think back fondly how it turned out? Is there one that just kind of is always with you?
I have a few of those. There was one when I first started in practice, and I had him, and I don't even remember what his charge was, but he also had a trailing superior court matter and was ultimately convicted, and he went to prison. But the reason why it stuck out for me was that he was the nicest individual who made a bad choice. And he was not from here. He was from Sudan, and he had a refugee status, and he didn't really understand what was going on. And he would send me letters just asking questions. And my husband jokes, he had phenomenal handwriting where he was from. It was very nice. But it was almost like he needed a friend. And so I think about him often. I've looked up on him recently. He's still in prison, but I'm hopeful that he's doing well. There's been others where I've connected with, and recently one passed away in jail. And it was really upsetting for me because we had been working on the mental health aspect, and I didn't get there soon enough. And so I couldn't make that difference, and she passed. And so things like that kind of keep me going because I don't want to lose another client.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
You know,
Oh, go ahead, Ken.
yeah, I get the impression that you're inspired to file for this because you think you can make a difference, but I'm wondering if you can cite any examples of things where you feel like the court fell short. Here's what I would like to change. Here's what I'd like to improve.
Typically, when I feel like the court is falling short or a system is failing somebody, I try to make those steps in order to solve it. So, for example, I was working on the legal financial obligations docket in Superior Court, and that takes a lot of patience because these people who are owing fines, who may have issues that are undiagnosed or that they are diagnosed but they can't get their documents, it's a challenge. And so I was able to create a way in which I made a contact with the Social Security office and was able to find a way in which I could quickly get access to documents in order to assist these people. It took a lot of sitting in the Social Security office week after week after week until she decided that it was easier to deal with me head on than to let me sit there every week. But we were able to solve that problem, and now we're able to get the documents we need. We also have a way to get documents from the state because I looked into research and figured out how to get access to these. And again, instead of answering my records requests and providing me everything, they've learned how to work with me and provide me what I need. And so there's been a lot of situations where administratively I'm able to solve problems that help us in the long run in the criminal court or in a quasi-criminal matter. And I'd like to continue doing things like that. Right now we have, in the child support docket in Superior Court, the child support office has brought in Alternative Solutions, which I believe is a DSHS agency. And there's an individual that comes in and she meets with my clients if they're unable to find work or they need help filling out documents. And they're starting to provide those services to people who are in court because they're there now and we can help kind of get them along the way. So I feel like even making those small steps ultimately bring us together and help a big solution occur.
Wow, this has been very enlightening, I think. I'm really pleased that you were willing to participate today, Trinity. So are there any other questions?
I just think that after spending half an hour listening to you, I fully understand why you've got the list of endorsements you have.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So Trinity, if you want to have a wrap up, a couple minutes just to close, I think our questions have been answered. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me today. I know this took a little while to get here. I do appreciate being able to introduce myself and give you some information. I have a lot of goals and I have a lot of plans for our district court, and I hope that I can accomplish them. I'm going to work hard to do what needs to happen, and I will go the extra mile. I don't give up, and I don't intend to give up here. And I'm gonna do my best to be the best I can for our community and hopefully make a difference. If you want more information, you can go to my website or Facebook.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Thank you.
you visiting today. So,
Yeah, thank you.
all righty.
Thank you.